For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. Patrick Raye, the police chief, sat down in the chair that had been conveniently pushed towards him and glanced sideways. The white panels with numerous buttons and multicolored lights reminded him of cocktail machines. The similarity between the computing center and a bar was further reinforced by the two operator girls sitting importantly in white aprons at the panels. The girls clearly overused cosmetics, which Raye didn't particularly like. He wasn't fond of the idea of buying the electronic machine either. In fact, if the Ministry of Internal Affairs paid less attention to the newspapers, none of these innovations would have existed. Patrick Raye had been working in the police for 50 years and knew very well the kind of outcry the newspapers would make whenever the police failed to solve a crime. Corrupt. But why would the gangsters need to bribe the police when every gangster syndicate had far more resources than the police itself? They had armored cars, helicopters, automatic weapons, tear gas bombs, and most importantly, the ability to shoot anyone they wanted whenever they wanted. Corrupt! David Logan was burning with impatience, but hesitated to interrupt the chief's musings. It was clear that the old man was skeptical. Otherwise, he wouldn't be acting as if this didn't concern him. Well, let's see what kind of song he will sing when all the cards are on the table. Such a crime doesn't happen every day. Raye took out his pipe and carefully looked around the walls, checking for any no smoking signs. Go ahead. Logan clicked the lighter. Thank you. For a few minutes, Raye silently puffed on his pipe. Logan noted something on the perforated tape and quietly observed his boss. So, Raye finally spoke. You want to convince me that they're going to try to rob the National Bank tonight? Absolutely correct. But why tonight? And why specifically the National Bank? Look here. Logan handed the chief a piece of paper. The machine analyzed all the bank robberies over the past 50 years and extrapolated the data. The next crime. Logan's pencil pointed to a dot on the dotted curve. Is predicted to happen tonight. HM. Raye tapped his finger on the diagram. And where does it say anything about the National Bank here? That follows from the probability theory. It's a mathematical prediction. The National Bank. Raye remembered the robbery in 1912. He had been injured in the knee during the intense struggle, yet managed to catch up with the bandits on his motorcycle. Those were idyllic times when criminals operated in small groups and were armed with old-fashioned Colt revolvers. Back then, bravery and skill meant a lot. But now, mathematical prediction, correlation, Gaussian functions, perforated cards. Oh my God! Where was he? In the police department or at a math seminar? Ooh, In short, there's no doubt that the Scaletti gang— What did you say? Raye jumped. The Scaletti gang. They have the most advanced safe cracking technology, and they haven't participated in any major operations for a while. The Scaletti data still in the machine. The machine believes it will be the Scaletti gang. The probability is 86%. Raye stood up and went to the machine's panel. Show me how it works. Of course. We can repeat the main calculations in front of you. No, I'm just curious. So, Scaletti and his boys are going to open the safes of the National Bank tonight? Absolutely correct. Well, in that case, Raye smiled, I can only feel sorry for them. Why? They're planning to rob the bank? We know it. The machine knows it. But Scaletti himself has no idea. Logan inwardly rejoiced at the opportunity for revenge. You're wrong, he said with gloating. The Scaletti gang also bought a similar machine. You can't doubt that it will tell them when and how to act. Gene Bristow had traded his university career for money and had no regrets. He felt the sober self-satisfaction of someone who had voluntarily given up the bliss of paradise for the sinful pleasures of earthly life. As for any guilt about selling his knowledge to a gangster syndicate, Joan didn't feel it at all. After all, the work of a programmer was the same everywhere, but Mr. Scaletti paid him 10 times more than any other company. Everything was mostly like a chess game, a duel with electronic machines. Jane smiled and glanced sideways at the old boss, who was currently being served a second cup of warm milk by his bodyguard. The newspaper correspondents would tear each other's throats out for such a picture. The terror of the banks, Pedro Scaletti drinking milk. And what do you say, son? Scaletti placed the empty cup on the machine's panel and turned to Bristow. So, your fortune teller predicts a nice hit for tonight. Bristow frowned slightly at the word fortune teller. No, sir. If you've decided to buy an electronic machine and trust the voice of science, please learn to use the appropriate vocabulary. I managed, he replied dryly, to find the formula that expresses the periodicity of bank robberies. Of course, successful robberies, he added, picking up the pointer. Here, on this graph, they are shown with black circles. The red circles are the robberies predicted by my formula. The vertical axis marks the amounts of money, and the horizontal axis shows the dates of the robberies. As you can see, the next large robbery is scheduled for today. I don't see why we shouldn't go for this nice sum. What's the amount? 40 million. One of the bodyguards whistled. Scaletti turned around angrily. He hated any unexpected noises. For a while, the syndicate boss sat, quietly humming to himself. Clearly, he was considering the proposal. Which bank? The National? It was obvious that Scaletti wasn't keen on dealing with the National Bank, having already broken his teeth on it twice. On the other hand, though, 40 million was a sum worth risking a few boys. Bristow understood why Scaletti was hesitating and decided to play his trump card. Of course, The operation will be planned by the machine. It seemed that Bristow had hit the mark. Scaletti didn't like taking responsibility for planning the operation. Yes, it was worth trying, especially with the machine. But suddenly he remembered. Wait, I heard that old rake has installed a similar machine in his shop. What if it warns them? It's possible, Bristow replied casually. But we have an advantage in this regard. We know they have a machine, and they can only guess. So what? Scaletti asked, puzzled. That's the whole point. The machine can generate several robbery scenarios. Some will be more favorable, others less so. Let's say the police receive a warning from their machine that the bank is going to be robbed. Then they'll ask the machine to determine which syndicate will carry out the operation and what the tactics will be. They'll accept the best scenario and develop their police tactics based on that. And they'll catch us, Scaletti replied sharply. Not at all. Why not? Because knowing that, we'll choose not the best scenario, but one of the secondary ones. Scaletti shook his head vigorously. That's nonsense! They'll just wait for us at the bank in ambush and slaughter us like chicks. That's where you're wrong, Bristow countered. Raye will never decide to set an ambush. Why not? For purely psychological reasons. You really understand a lot about police psychology. Scaletti sneered. But I've known the old man for over 30 years. I'm telling you, Raye likes to act with no risk, and he wouldn't back out of an ambush for anything. Bristow reached over and grabbed the roll of perforated tape from the table. I may not know much about police psychology, but the machine can solve any psychological puzzle, given the right program, of course. Here's a solution to such a task. The following facts were fed into the machine. Raye is 74 years old. Some people in the Ministry of Internal Affairs have long wanted to replace him with a younger and less stubborn official. Second, in order to set an ambush at the National Bank, he needs permission from both the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Ministry of Finance. What does Raye gain from the ambush? A tactical advantage. What does he risk if he sets an ambush? His reputation, if he fails to stop the attack. Then all the newspapers will scream that the police are unable to handle a gang of criminals, even when they knew in advance that such a crime was being prepared. Raye would look even worse if he sets an ambush and no robbery follows. The question is, will Raye dare to request permission for an ambush, knowing that he doesn't trust the predictions of these machines? The answer is no, he won't. Logical, right? Scaletti scratched the back of his neck. All right, tell me what your operation options are, he muttered, settling more comfortably in his chair. Well, yes, said Raye. Your first option is totally in line with Scaletti's style. It relies heavily on external effects, armored car attacks, loud explosions with firecrackers, and a plan to block the area. But I don't understand why you'd organize such a deceptive demonstration. Raye pointed to one of the highways in the center of the city. It makes sense to pull more police officers here only if he suspects that we know about the upcoming robbery and are planning to ambush them here." Logan couldn't hide his triumphant smile. "Only in that case," he confirmed. "Scaletti is sure that we know both his plans and how he will carry out the operation." "Strange?" "There's nothing strange about it. The Ministry of Internal Affairs publicly announced through the newspapers that the police have obtained the latest model of an electronic computing machine. Don't you think that Scaletti's syndicate wouldn't take our crime prediction capabilities into account? Or maybe the police got this machine just to increase their chances of winning at horse races." Raye blushed. His passion for betting was one of the few weaknesses he carefully hid from his colleagues. "So what does this mean?" he asked dryly. "It means that Scaletti will never go with the first option, even though it's the most profitable for the syndicate." "Why?" "Precisely because it's the most profitable." Raye dropped his pipe, refilled it, and sank into thought, enveloped in a cloud of blue smoke. A few minutes passed, and finally he said joyfully, "By God, Dave, I understand everything!" "You're trying to say that the syndicate not only suspects that we know about the upcoming robbery, but also that we have their operation plans in hand." "Exactly." "They know that our machine has the same capabilities as theirs. So we also have their operation plan, and since this plan is the most favorable for the syndicate, the police will use it as the starting point for their counter-operation. And meanwhile they will work on a less favorable scenario for themselves, but one that will be a complete surprise for the police." "Oog." Raye wiped his reddened neck with a checkered handkerchief. "So you're suggesting that we immediately proceed to analyze plan number 2. Logan interrupted, signaling to the women in white aprons to activate the machine. "I don't understand why you're so opposed to this option," Bristow asked. "Because these are just some of your made-up ideas." Scaletti's voice trembled with anger. "All right, even if we use helicopters, it doesn't mean I can drop 1,000-kilogram bombs and perform an airborne assault. Am I the defense minister? And why the hell should we abandon the first option? Everything there is perfectly planned. Understand?" Bristow continued, "The second option is good precisely because the police think it's impossible." "Really? Where will you get the aerial bombs?" "That's what I'm saying. Now imagine that somehow you manage to find bombs. In that case, the police will be completely helpless against the second option. They'll think it's a bluff and will prepare to counter the operation based on plan number 1. And that means 40 million will move from the bank to your safes." The mention of the 40 million made Scaletti pause. He scratched the back of his head, pulled the phone toward him, and dialed a number. "Hello, Pitt. I need 2,000-kilogram aerial bombs. For tonight." "What?" "Okay. I'll wait for your call." "See? I told you," said Bristow. "For Scaletti's syndicate, nothing is impossible. Don't rush. Let's first get the bombs. What if he can't find any? In that case, We'll go with option number 3. It was unbearably hot in the machine room of the main police department's computing center. The usual mildness of the female operators was melting away from the hot air emanating from the machines. Streams of sweat ran down their faces, blurring their once beautiful features, revealing the bony face of time itself. Rach and Logan were leaning over a table covered with perforated tapes. "Well?" Rach rasped, trying to shout over the noise of the typewriters. "Let's assume the syndicate manages to find 1 or 2 bombs taken from the arsenal. It's unlikely, but I'm willing to accept this hypothesis now." "Aha, see, even you—" "Wait, Dave!" "I'm saying this just because, compared to this option, digging a 50-meter tunnel from the building of a foreign embassy seems like pure foolishness." "Why?" "Because, first, a tunnel like that would take time, and second, a foreign embassy, that's the height of idiocy. But look here." Logan spread the map on the table. "The embassy building has the most favorable position. The tunnel would take them directly to the room with the safes. Also, who's going to let them dig a tunnel there?" Rach interrupted. "We'll discuss that separately." Logan smirked. "I've already prepared the necessary program for the machine." "Enough, kid!" Scaletti took his boots off the console and stretched his legs out to the bodyguard, who grabbed the shoes from the floor. "We're just wasting time. I'm perfectly satisfied with your first plan." "Yes, but remember we agreed that it's the most dangerous one. If we go with this plan, we're giving the police a solid advantage." "Not a chance!" "When does the police expect the attack?" "Tonight. And we're going to carry it out tomorrow." "Daddy," Bristow said meaningfully, "you don't have a head. You have a computing machine on your shoulders." "This way. We'll have twice as many options." So, Logan unbuttoned his shirt collar, which was soaked with sweat. Option number 7 is actually an unexpected return to option number 1. "Oh, damn it! Listen, boss, wouldn't it be best if we just set up an ambush at the bank?" "No, Dave. We must refrain from any actions that could cause panic on the stock exchange. Our request for permission to set up an ambush will inevitably be leaked to the press. And then—" "Yes, I guess you're right, especially since option number 7 involves postponing the robbery until tomorrow." "In that case, pick up the phone. It's been ringing for half an hour." One of the women went to the phone. "It's for you," she said to Rach, covering the receiver with her hand. "Tell them I'm busy. It's the duty officer. He says it's very important." Rach took the receiver. "Hello." "Yes. When? I see no better a motorcycle. I'll be right there." After the call ended, the police chief stared silently at Logan. Finally, he spoke in an oddly calm voice. "You were right, Dave." "About what?" 10 minutes ago. The National Bank was robbed." Logan went pale. "Did Scaletti?" "I think Scaletti completely trusted some fool like you." "No. It looks like it's the work of Stinky Sims. I recognize his method of operating alone, armed with a Colt 1912 and a tin can stuck on the handle of a meat grinder.